that for me.
Get what? Oh, right here.
There you go. Perfect. All right, so we do have class 3 today, and exciting. I've added some content that I found myself in my packages from 20-something years ago that I used to do in listing presentations. I had moved a few times in my life, and I thought I'd lost this stuff. So I actually had designed create this new price your home to sell guide, which we have hard copies here in the office at home. I think Matt emailed it to you this morning. Design does have this. I had Design do this for me. So if you want a hard copy version of it, you can do that. And we're going to do this at the end of the session today. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be very rough at it, so full disclosure right off the bat, I haven't done this in 20 years, so I just found it. But this was part of my listing presentation. And it's an interactive kind of presentation where I would go through them. Because essentially, you know, when you're listing property, there's really 2 key things. Can I write on that yet? Or
If you like to make that happen.
okay. Well, I'll just throw it out there. What are the 2 most critical aspects of when you go into list a property that you're going to have to deal with no matter what? There's 2 issues you're always going to contend with the sellers or seller. Right. Price.
Yeah.
Price your home to sell.
Now you can write on it.
Right. So price. This thing?
Yep.
Okay. Price. And what do you think number 2 is? Fee. So today's session is on this, right? Basically that. Next session will be on the fee, which is where we'll do some interactive role playing for those that are interested in doing that. So today I want you to focus on, you know, the two big ones, right? Fee. Next week we'll touch a little bit about that, how I used to deal with that. You'll see my kind of matrix for that. And then the fee next week with the objection handling dialogue stuff. But to start it off, as you know, I like to do quizzes and whatnot. Come on in, Zeb. The Market Watch got released this week, right? As I said before, this really is a staple for every realtor. We need to have this, like a carpenter needs his saw and his hammer and nails. This is like the equivalent for us in real estate. It's chock block full of data. Now there's generic data, overall holistic data, which is kind of what I focus on as a manager. And then you guys will drill it down into your micro markets. So if you're working a specific area, you can, generate data specific to that area. But I deal with the generics because I'm dealing with the whole company across the 3 locations we have. So some of these questions, possibly all of these questions, are originating from this Market Watch. Now, I always print the first and second page. There's 27 pages that go into that dig into the micro markets, for detached homes, semis, towns, condos, and all the different districts that you find on TREB. So, again, you focus in and drill down to your marketplace specifically, but these are more generic overview averages for all of TREB. So they come from the TREB Market Watch. So we're going to give some books away for those that can guess what some of these numbers mean. So what do you think 1.44 means right now?
Price of detached home? Average price.
Average. It's an average. What average is it?
Price.
The average sale price.
I'm not.
Is it a million?
Average sale price is just over $1 million right now.
Yeah.
It's $1,054,000.
Yeah.
So it's not the average sale price. Good guess though, but it is an average. Can they see me? Oh, they can. Yeah. You track the camera, right?
I did.
Thank you. All right, so I shared this with you back in the first class. Sales to realtor ratio. Okay, so no book for this one. Negative 9.5%.
Price reduction.
No.
Sales.
Well, you only get 1 vote. For 1 guess. Sales.
That's a wild guess for me.
Down. So nobody wins a book there. Damn, I want to get books away. All right, 22.
Days on market.
No. It is a I'll give you a yes, no.
Oh, I think that's a.
Listings to sale.
22% prices are down.
Listings to
Like
sale ratio.
No.
Prices down?
Oh, sorry, you said listings to sale?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Yes. It's the amount of, so we'll call it the amount of, so you get a book.
Hey,
Amount of homes
sold versus
that's sold.
Yeah.
So what we do is we take the active listings and divide that by, well, actually, the sales divided by the active listings. So only 22% of all homes on Treb sold in the month of October. It's very important because we're doing the class today on listing and getting the price right? And let me tell you, 33 years of experience would tell me that the price is probably one of the biggest reasons why we don't sell. In fact, it is the number one reason, right? What does 50 mean? You grab a book if you want. Or you do it
I'll
after?
wait for you.
Okay.
Just a flow.
I like giving books away.
Come on.
I love books.
Now, I might have heard somebody guess this already for the 22.
Was that 50 or 50%?
50
Oh, is this what happened there?
days on market. So you get a book. All right, this is going to be a little more trickier for you guys because yes?
Just a question on that. Is there a way to see cumulative average days on market when it's been relisted with price adjustments?
No, I don't believe so, right? You'd have to go back in and look at the history of the property.
Dig into the history and just
Okay.
see how many times
Yeah.
it's been relisted.
Yeah,
Average days on market, isn't it 29?
it's 50. Yeah, there's LDOM, and PDOM. I go by PDOM on the, which is 50, right? 5,382. Now, this is not a number that they show you in there. You got to do a little bit of mathing to figure this out. And you have to kind of step outside the box in thinking or for what actually these next three numbers are going to be. So what do we think 5,382 is?
I was gonna say.
You only get one book a session now. So go whisper to somebody that hasn't got it.
Okay.
Or
What
pick
if
somebody.
if I get it, can I give my book? Sorry.
Pick somebody that you want to get a book. If you get it right, they get it.
Who has not gotten a book yet?
And people at home too. Who's at home?
I don't know who they are. Has anyone here not gotten a book? Everyone has
So-
gotten a book.
What does that mean?
Total sold in 2025?
No.
No.
That's like.
No, a month. Sorry.
Yeah, that was my guess as well.
For October? No.
No.
Or like the amount of homes are listed.
Come on, say it. Total sales in the month of,
September?
nope,
October.
nope.
No.
Remember, I said it's not in the Marco Watch. You have to do some mathing. to figure it. November. And so how did I come up with that number?
November 24.
November 25.
25.
This is a projection,
Projection.
okay? And so what I did on the back page of Market Watch, I looked to last year. And last year will show you that there was I don't have my glasses on. It says 5,000. Oh man, 590. Further I go back, the better I read, okay? 5,947 is what was reported last year in November. Because the market dropped 9.5%, I used that math to diminish the 5,000 odd sales from last year this month and came out with that. Everyone understand that?
Yeah.
So we're projection, it's just a projection, it's a guess. It's a best guess. So this year would be, of course, your December. Okay, so who did you pick? Who got it right, by the way? Dan did, okay, projection. So how many books have we given away? Because this is
That's the second.
2, okay. What's that one?
Total sales.
You got it, so you get a book too.
I know which one I'm taking today.
So this is my projection, again, mine, my best kind of guess of what will finish the year at a Trev for sales. That's the one side, individual side of sales, right? We multiply that by 2 because there's 2 ends, there's a sale and a purchase, and that number, should I calculate that? I sure did. So it's 125,732. All right, so I'm putting that up there to help you with the last number.
Sorry, what was that?
So this here is this number here times 2. Why? Because there's a sale, right? And there's a buy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is November traditionally a weaker month than October?
Oh, yeah.
Also, that's.
Yeah. Like the traditional cycle of the market for spring market would bring you into maybe second week of September. Kids are back in school, Labor Day's over, you know, people are adjusting back, and then it starts to heat up again till about, right about now, I would say, you know, Remembrance Day that week, it kind of shifts back into a slow market, right? So we have a fall market of 2 months essentially.
But in 2023, we had 4,611 sales in October.
Yeah.
It jumped last year to 6,724.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this year also, it's not too bad at 6,000 plus.
So if we look at the year, this would be, so you go January to December, okay? And this would be sales. So it's going to be low sales, and then you're going to spike up, excuse me, in the spring market. You're going to come back down in the summertime, and you're going to spike up, and then you're going to come down like that. That's a traditional market. Does that happen every year? No, right? Sometimes it shifts this way. Sometimes it shifts that way. That's why, like I said, if you're a carpenter, you have a hammer and a saw and all that kind of stuff. If you're a realtor, you have this to be able to stay on top of what's actually going on. Because when you go in to list a property, this is the data, information you need to have right at the top of your mind and or on paper to show them, okay? Because if you're going to compete with people that are just giving away their commission, doing it for free, you know, you got to show that there's a value that you're providing to them to offset that, right? So if you're just going to list with somebody that doesn't know data, then you're gambling with your biggest asset. Versus myself, I've taken the time to understand what's actually trending, and this is the cycle or a trend, right?
There's a significant reduction in price this October.
Yeah.
Huge reduction, which
Yeah.
wasn't happening last 2 years.
Great point. So this is why it's so critical for you in your marketplace to find out what's happening in your marketplace, because there's actually marketplaces that exist that have not gone down 9%.
Yeah.
They've gone up a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. When I see a drop of 9%, like what we've had, it leads me to believe there's probably a lot less higher end properties have sold, and a lot of more middle of the pack and lower end properties have sold, thereby bringing down the value of the overall price, right? Make sense?
Yeah.
Again, it's very critical. If you're working, I live in Heart Lake and Brampton. Do I really care what's happening in Burlington for my specific marketplace? No. Do I care what's happening in Burlington for an overall picture? Yes, right? And so you work it down from the generic down to the specific. Make sense? All right, the last one. What's the last little number out there?
Number of sales to realtor.
So this is it. End of year. Okay. And you know how I got that, right? So the one thing you don't see here is that there's approximately 75,000 realtors on Shreb, okay? On Shreb.
So that's the average sales per year.
Per realtor.
Per year.
So this is the number that we're probably going to finish off at based upon my math, right? Which is a little bit better than the 144, okay? Now, I track this. Have I given this to you to give out to the class, Matt? I tracked it back to 2002. Have you guys got that? No, I'll send it to you to send out to the class today, okay?
What's it called?
I call it the sales to realtor population ratio. No? Sales to realtor population ratio. So put it in perspective, I was selling real estate back in 2002. The average realtor in that year sold 8.54 homes. Okay. It's been on a trend down. So let's say the year I left real estate, my last selling year was 2006. I left in December, became a broker in January 2007. That last year was down to 6.92. So it had almost dropped 2 sales per realtor in that 4 years, right? And it's been slowly trending down. The lowest we've ever seen is actually right now in my graphs going back 20 something years, okay? Which makes sense, you know, the market sales are down, the
Prices are also going down.
It's a perfect
Prices
storm.
are going
it's a
down.
perfect storm, yeah. So you've got more realtors in the marketplace, you've got less sales in the marketplace, you've got so much uncertainty. People are frozen right now, and so you're seeing this trend go down. But I share this with people individually when I meet with you, just to, you know, kind of make you think in a bigger picture, like a zoomed out metric of who is doing things and who's not. And as I said to you back in, and I think it was my first class, you're really only competing with, out of the 75,000, maybe 15 to 20,000. The rest are hobbyists in our business, okay?
10,500 is what we're.
What's that?
10,500 is our real competition.
Yeah, if you really just slow it down, but I'll wind it up or round it up a little bit higher for you. Yeah, but on, yes, sir, yeah.
Yeah, so when we say the 62,867, so that means it is just for buying and selling. It won't include the pre-con.
Correct. So just as to be clear, the market watch data does not do pre-construction. It does not capture rentals, and it does not do the commercial. This is a residential report, okay? So, but it's a stable report because Trev's been doing it for as long as I've been in the business, and that's 30 something years, okay? Yeah, but so if you're, listen, if you're specializing in pre-con, I'm gonna tell you your numbers are worse than this. Nobody's selling pre-con. Like our office is a very strong pre-con office, and I get the numbers every month, and we're significantly down in selling pre-con, like significantly. Why? Because there's not a lot of developers that are launching new products. Why? Because they don't know the future, the economy. Exactly. There's so much uncertainty in labor, in input costs, which would be your materials and things like that. So what they do is they do what's called a pro forma for a project. Why? Because if I woke up this morning and said, okay, I'm going to go and buy this land and I'm going to build, 5 towers, it's going to take me from this morning waking up with that thought, probably 10 years for people to start to move in, maybe 8, right? And so I have to figure out, where's the economy going to be in 10 years? What are labor costs going to be? Is there going to be material available shortages, things like that, right? Are there going to be government headwinds to me to say, sorry, you can't build here? I mean, it is a gong show for developers to get a project up and running. And in this environment, why would they take that risk? For, what's their return? 10, 15% at best. They can put that money into something else, a lot less risk, right? Yeah, so I think Matt just took off, which I need on the book. Yeah, we'll do some questions. Go ahead.
I heard with the pre-cons, some developers and builders are doing clawbacks on commissions because the project didn't go through. Did you hear about that?
So the question is clawbacks. And so what clawbacks mean is if I've sold your project, your ABC developer, and if in the agreement that I sign as a broker with you and the developer, there's what's called a clawback. That clawback is if they do not build or my buyer does not close. Okay, so my buyers put the agreement in. They bought the property in 2021, end of 2021, which was a very high market. The value has come down. Let's say they sold me that unit at $1,500 per square feet. We're now down to 1,100 square feet. Just making up numbers here. The buyer now is looking at this is my purchase price. This is the value. I'm having trouble getting mortgage for that. They do have on-site lenders that will do what's called a blanket appraisal and blanket mortgage. So like RBC was the on-site developer or mortgagor, they would do something like that. But then you're paying, for a product that's diminished in value significantly. Now, at the face of it, you're probably saying, let's walk away. I always recommend never walk away. Stay with the deal. Swallow that bitter pill as much as you can, because at the end of the day, you're still going to have the real estate. If you walk away, you can't close, the developer will take your deposit. They're going to come and claw back the commission from the realtor, right, us. and they're gonna sue you for the difference. Like not you as a realtor, but the client, the buyer. And they do that. They do that because they need to make an impression upon the marketplace to say, you know, you can't just walk away from a transaction. We will come after you, right? So they'll resell the property at a diminished value. So let's say we bought it for, on paper for 1.5, right? 1.5, and now it's 1.2. We have a $300,000 loss, right? On paper. Plus the developer will rack up extra fees, you know, extra legal fees that he's being charged, utilities, taxes, like they jack that number up. You on something like that, you probably put in $300,000, right? They're gonna take that and then sue you for that. So you're gonna be probably around 600 grand in that scenario out of money. So I beg with our realtors that are talking to our buyers that are in that scenario, close that property, at least own the real estate. Don't own the distress that you're gonna live with for the next 10 years of your life. And if you lose $600,000, I don't know about you, but I'm not in that position whatsoever. I don't wanna lose $6, let alone 600 grand, right? So close. And the clawbacks, we've had a few of them, thankfully not an avalanche of them, because we've really dealt with projects that are very solid projects that have good pro formas, and so there's not as much of a delta loss. But we can't foresee and we cannot manage what happens in buyers' lives. If they've lost the job, they've had an illness, they've had a change in their relationship, marriage, what have you. I mean, that's unforeseen. And if that triggers them not to be able to close, then there are consequences, unfortunately. Yeah. Was there another hand? Yeah. They can hear right in this one, Matt? They can hear right. The other one I do, they can't hear when they talk in the audience, right? They can hear. Okay. Good.
Yeah, so like nowadays, like the pre-con, the government has introduced the rebate, which is like 5% on top of that PST, which is 8%, total 30% of you, like the first time home buyer are qualified. So do you think that it will make the pre-con bit moving, like in this scenario?
Yeah, sure. But the problem is that the developers are not putting together projects right now. They've stopped because it's not financially viable for them to do that. So we can have all these incentives and programs to get a buyer to make a purchase here, but if the developer's not bringing new product, new developments to the marketplace because of that uncertainty, you can't utilize that, right?
Yeah, but the condo is, I can understand the condos are not, but the townhome and home still coming in the market, right? I see the
No, not at a number that justifies the demand for that, right? So that market could find itself to be a massive competition, right? So, very risky, yeah.
Do you think the builders will lobby against lifting the investor ban because of that?
Well, not only are you're talking about the foreign buyer ban? Yeah, so not only are they doing that, we're doing that actively as a resident. Yeah, I've been pushing. We have one more year of it, right?
One
So
more year.
2026 is going to be another year. So it comes. Well, they extended the last time, so they could extend again. I'm adamantly against that. I mean, you're telling people from other countries Canada's closed for investment and business doesn't make sense whatsoever. But we just went through 10 years of stupidity leadership from.
And they've already done 3 years now.
Sorry, I just.
They've already done 3 years now, so it was originally supposed to be only 2 years. So 3 years have passed.
Yeah. There's exceptions in foreign buyer ban, right? So there's small ones, right? They're micro ones, but ultimately we got to make Canada, a destination point of investment into the country again. It's all fleeing, right? I mean, it's happening right now. One of my best friends is the Agent General of Ontario. He manages all of our trade from Texas to Florida and basically half the United States just in Ontario. And people are fleeing the country, like our country, right? And then Trump's terrorist thing's not helping. So, you can't play with fire and not get burned, and we're getting burned pretty hard. So, we're the mouse in America, whether you like them or not, they're the elephant. And, we have to get really serious about how we run the country, right? Can we pull up, unless there's another question, we'll pull up the slide, and what we'll do at the end, did you get your extra workbook that I got? No. At the end, yeah. We'll do this at the end. But I'll do the regular presentation unless there's any other questions. And how many books did we give out today, Matt? Was it three? Two or three? Three, four. They're up here for you guys to pick, okay? Yeah. All right, so we're listing presentation we're prepared for. And I should be able to click there, right, Matt? Should be able to now. Okay, so if we go to page 44 of the workbook, I always like to do surveys, source surveys. I better put this marker down, otherwise I will write on that. I have done it before. Okay, so this was a survey done in 2010 by NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors. It's the equivalent to the Canadian Real Estate Association, but it's 10 plus times the size of ours. So this was a research to find out how many times does a realtor have to visit to actually get the listing, right? And so in fact, in 2/3 of the situations, 66%, it only requires one visit to a listing, right? So one realtor gets the property 66% of the time, okay? 19% interviewed 2 realtors, 15% interviewed 3 or more. 63% in this survey said that they would use their realtors again or recommend them to others. So I bring this up just for people to kind of in their minds think about positioning of when do they want to go in for the listing presentation if they know they're in competition. If you're good, if you're sharp, if you're on your game, you want to be the first one in. You don't want to have a strategy of being second or third and coming in thinking like you're gonna wow them after the first and second have come in. So if you were, let's say, competing against me, and I knew I was competing against 2 or 3 others, and I always want to know who the people are that I'm competing against, if they will divulge that, because I will research that person's success, okay? And some of the biggest names you ever will find in real estate, not naming names, they have a track record of, 20, 30, 40% sales ratio. I had one in the high 90s. So I want to know who I'm competing against, because if it's the mega realtors that are everywhere and they're only selling 40% of their listings and I'm selling 95%, do you want to gamble with them or do you want to actually, profit with me and successfully sell, right? So I'm always, when I was working, always wanted to be number one. I wanted to be in. And what would happen would be inevitably the seller would push back with me and say, well, Mike, I've got some other people I feel terrible about, taking your listing today because I made a commitment. And it's important to me. I confirmed an appointment, and I would always be like, well, you know what, Matt, I get that. I'm the same way. Listen, let me take that burden away from you. I'll call John and let John know that seller really appreciated. They're looking forward to meeting with you. I met with them last night and I've actually listed the property. So just reaching out to let you know that there's no need for you to go in tonight for your appointment. So I did that all the time. And sometimes it wasn't well received, but I wasn't doing anything unethical. I was literally just giving them the heads up and taking the burden away from my seller from having to do that, right? Because they feel terrible, they feel guilty, there's shame there, right? Don't worry about it. I'll take care of that. Now, funny enough, was it last year or 2 years ago, Matt, we were doing this session. I talked about this. And literally that day, one of our realtors went to a listing. She thought, oh, I'm doing what Mike said. I'm getting the listing. She got the listing that night. The next day, she calls the other realtor to let them know that she's listed it. That guy went off his marbles. Crazy. Called the seller, started yelling at them, made a big, very unethical, do not do that, please, right? And, caused a lot of friction, a lot of, upset feelings and stuff. And to the point where I had to get involved with the broker and say, listen, we're just giving you a courtesy call here. We've listed it. This behavior here has got RICO fines all over it. Please have your guy simmer down here. I'll give you an opportunity, but I'm ready to call RICO and throw the book at this guy, right? So the guy thankfully, went back into his caveman, and we took the listing and we finished. Sam, this is an extra book, and you don't have a main book, do you? No. We can give. We're on page. What page are we on, folks? 44.
Mike, did you have to use any of that martial arts experience?
I've never had to physically hit anybody in my career, but I've had to step in between people in my career in multiple offer situations where somebody goes crazy. There's a guy that ripped screen doors that go on front doors, right? Like storm screen door. Some guy, he lost the listing for a buyer. It was like 6 of us. And when he left, he was fuming, screaming, and it was no old lady. She was like in her 80s. I felt so bad for her. The realtor was like in her 80s too. And this guy just ripped a screen door right off, and he was like threatening. So I stepped up and stepped in between him and all the other realtors and said, listen, I think it's probably best to be safe, right? And I was in the 90s. He didn't know that I actually won that for my buyer, I should say. But we actually won that. So it can get messy, right? Out there. Anyway, so just try to be the first one. Be the first one if you know your presentation is like the Academy Award performance or a gold medal. If you know you're on your game, be first, because you will 2/3 of the time walk out with the listing. And if they booked other people, do my tactic. Don't worry. I know you feel guilty. I do too. I would feel guilty, but I'll take that away from me, that burden. Let me give the realtor a call. I know their brokerage. I know their manager or whatever. I'll give the call to them and I'll gently let them down so you don't have to worry about it. But let's get excited about selling your house, right? Redirect. Okay. So next slide, if my thing will click here, Matt. Initial point of contact. It's always putting the seller at ease, right? You do not want them to be in a stressed situation or an anxiety situation. We get too much of that from the news, from social media, from people that we interact with at every part of our lives, okay? So put them at ease, be friendly, and always smile when you're talking to them. This includes over the phone. I don't know if you've ever talked to somebody over the phone where you're like, wow, this person's amazing. And it's almost like you're talking and you're envisioning there's a person smiling at the end of the call, okay? You don't want to be like talking like this to somebody because, you know, you're like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. You ever seen Winnie the Pooh? Yeah. Right? Brian Buffini, who, you know, I was a mentor of his in his organization. He's one of the biggest trainers in the world for real estate. And he always said, don't be Eeyore, don't talk like this. But be excited about it, right? Examples of a seller questionnaire. So you're going to see this on page 45. These are just samples. Remember, we do the if I could, would you? That's called the sharp angle close. And we follow that up with the when would be a good time to meet, right? That's the alternative choice. So always remember, that's how you're booking your appointment, right? So Matt, if I could show you how to sell your house in the least amount of time for the most amount of money, would you be interested in hearing more?
Sure.
Perfect. When would be a good time to meet, Matt? Would 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock work better tonight?
I'm gonna check with my wife first.
Don't worry about that. Let's pencil in 8 o'clock, and if we have to change that, give me a call back.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I got them booked at 8 o'clock. Okay, so you push me back. Now, just to make our time together more valuable, I would like to ask a few questions, right? So I booked your appointment. So remember I taught you that? I didn't teach you the next part, right? Like you're not going to go run off now without having any information about the house, okay? So I wanted to teach you it in a slow state. So the next stage is you need to do some data collection. You need to find out about that property. So when you see page 45, these are samples of questions that you can ask them, right? And like I said, I always said, to help us get the most out of our time together, I have a few items I'd like to ask you. And you start asking some of the questions that you want answered. So it could be, tell me about your home. How long have you lived there? Well, you might find that already by looking on MLS. You can see that they bought the house 7 years ago. So you may not want to ask those questions. Why do you want to move? I think that's a critical reason, right? Are you dealing with a divorce situation? Are you dealing with a retirement situation? Are you dealing with a job loss situation? Are you dealing with somebody that needs to leave because of a breakup in the family somewhere where somebody's passed away or something, right? Or a job relocation. Let's find out the why. That's very important. When do you want to move by, right? So if they say to you, hey, Mike, I want to be out of the house in 90 days. That should trigger a thought in your mind right away, like, oh, that's not a lot of time. You think it's a lot of time, But is 90 days a lot of time from I'm talking to you on the phone before I walk into the house? Not a chance. That's a very tight timeline. So that's good for you to use in the physical, in present, presentation to say, you let me know that you wanted to be out of here in 90 days. Well, now it's actually 88 days. And let me just share with you the process of how that looks. So time is of the essence, okay? So that's flip to page 46, some more questions for you. What first attracted you to the neighborhood is one of the questions I used to always like. Why? Because, if they're raising a family or have raised a family and this area really attracts families, I want to know about the schools and the recreation centers and the parks and the fishing pond where you can go catch trout or bass or something. Those are the things that I'm going to use in building my marketing plan and my strategy for the house. So all I'm trying to say is whatever those questions are that you want to find out about the house, this is your time to do it. You've done the if I could, would you, sharp angle close. They say yes. You book the time. When would be a good time? 6 or 8. Got 8. Now, just to help make our time more valuable together, I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask. Hit them with the questions you want to ask. Right? Another really good one that I used to always ask, have you done any improvements? So if I see the property, they bought it 10 years ago, I'm seeing the listing from 10 years ago. How do I not know that they did a mass, renovation of the property? They loved HGTV back, 5-10 years ago, and they decided, let's do it, right? Let's call Mike Holmes over or whatever, and let's get this house. I don't know that based upon the listing. So have you done any improvements on the property? Oh, great. Tell me more about that. Why did you do that? Did you get permits? Right? Oh, you put a pool in your backyard. Oh, perfect. Did you get a permit for that? You got a new survey for that. Those are pretty important things we need to find out because we want to go into the listing presentation with all those things covered off. Make sense? Okay. Number 40, so it's a seller questionnaire. Oh, by the way, I have a pre-listing package that Matt sent out. You want to pull that one up just for a second, Matt? That's the one. It's a 14-page document. It's like the greenish background, which like a lot of stuff you're getting is stuff I physically used myself 20, 25, 30 years ago, okay? And so there's the one that's the pre-listing package. On the back page of that is the top 10 things about the property that you loved and enjoyed about your property. So you may want to use something like that in your questionnaire. This pre-listing package was something that I used to drop off to the house before the listing presentation. So if I booked today with Matt for 8, I got this pre-listing package together. I drove it up and put it in Matt's mailbox or his door if there's one of those like mailbox things. That's it there. If you go to the very back page, Matt.
Very back page?
Yeah. So this is the top 10 features of your home, right? So this is just a photocopy of what I had. This is all nicely printed up and stuff, okay? And I used this and I wanted this information again to build a marketing plan for the property, right? Because this is what they valued the most, it's what they liked about the house. Chances are, if this is what they like, the buyer's going to like that as well. And I might not pick up on that in the hour or two that I'm in the listing presentation, right? Makes sense. And if you go back to back to the top, there's some things that I asked them to bring with them as well to have ready. Should go back there, right there, right? So I want some of that information, right? So I want to have a copy of the survey if they have one. Now, again, 20 years ago is a lot different than today. There are sites that you can get surveys from now, right? That you can pay for them. We didn't have that last, 20 years ago. Disclosure keys. I want the keys of the property, right? Always get 2 sets, right? One as a backup, because I tell you, one of the things that's at epidemic levels are people taking keys out of lockboxes and missing keys. So you always want to have a backup. And if you ever run into a situation where a key goes missing in your lockbox, go change that lockbox ASAP. Do not leave that same lockbox on the door, because that's one of 2 things happen. The last realtor put it in his pocket or her pocket, forgot to put it back, and is saying, no, I put it back, right? That's their excuse. Whether that's right or true or not, I don't know, right? Or they gave out the lockbox to somebody, or a client of theirs saw them enter in the lockbox code and gone back, right? So you can never risk keeping the same lockbox on the property. Remove it immediately put a new one in, okay? But I want last tax bill as well. So that's something that's very important because we got to put the tax information into the property. So we get 2 tax bills a year, right? At least we do here in PA. So we get the first one, which is called the interim tax bill, right? So this is what they forecast to be what your final tax bill would be, right? So your interim one covers, call it your first 6 months of the property, and then your final, the last 6 months. Now you can set up how you want to pay. You can pay, however you really want. I've set mine up 6 payments a year. You do it how you please, but I want to see that information from them so that when I do the listing, because I'm taking the listing tonight, remember that, right? Like I want to walk out of there. I'm one of the 66% that gets it done. And if I don't have this information, and I got to call them up tomorrow and go, I fill in my forms here, I look unprofessional. Okay. So if they don't have that at the ready when I'm there that night, I ask them to get that information for me, right? So you can go off that one, Matt, and go back to page 47. Yeah, that one, modified appointment. That one. Yeah. This is very important too, right? So part of those questions, again, we've done the if I could, would you, when would be a good time? We go into our questions. This should be a question that I recommend everybody use. If we were to meet, would all the decision makers be present? This is very critical, okay? Because you may have third-party people that are maybe not on title, but are part of the whole process. Maybe mom and dad lent them $100,000 to get into the property, and mom and dad, may have a say in what happens. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. A bona fide appointment is when all the decision makers are present, even those that don't need to sign. Okay, I've seen far too often. We get the signatures, and then the next day I get this call, or a realtor gets a call, and it's mom and dad freaking out, like, "Hey, what happened here? Like, I wasn't included at the table." Well, I didn't know you should have been at the table. Therefore, I ask, is there anybody's mom and dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa? We have this thing called the bank of mom and dad. People joke about. It's a real deal. It's a real thing. Right now, it's becoming bank of grandma and grandpa. Right. So, are they there? Question that I would ask too over the go. What if we were able to agree on all your concerns and satisfy all your needs? Would you okay the paperwork? I want to know, will they make a decision when I go there tonight or when I go there tomorrow? Or are they just really lookers, researchers, right? We talk about researchers in the first class. I want to know that because then my tactics might be a little bit different, right? Gather all the documents. That's right. Use your tone of choice. That's good. One meeting versus multiple. As I said, your goal should always be to obtain the listing on the first meeting. Be prepared to do that. Be ready with all your facts and figures. Sellers generally require only one meeting. Now, more so than ever, come on in. It's okay. Yeah, no problem. There's an extra book for today, okay? Yeah. Where's your workbook? Forgot your workbook. Look at, we come prepared. I just talked about being prepared. So you can use the workbook.
Thank you so much.
Buyer's market. This is the key why I want you guys to be so on the ball with things right now. I think it's, I have to go here. We are in a hardcore buyer's market. So, sellers are in their mindset of doing multiple things because we're in a buyer's market. That's why you have to be exceptional in your presentation to get it on the first go right now, okay? I would freely admit to you, I would probably struggle too, okay? Because of what this market looks like. The good thing is though, that most of these sellers have done a ton of research already themselves by virtue of what they can access themselves, right? There's a lot of information that's floating out there available on the internet, but you need to be at the top of your game. Okay. Everybody filled in the blanks there? Good. Preparing for listing, prepare pre-listing package. You saw that little handout that Matt brought up, the 14-page. That was my pre-listing package. I would drop that off. Some people I know would courier it. I can't spell pronounce that. You know what I mean, right? Like FedEx.
Yes.
Okay. I just dropped it off. Now, I always made a point of not actually bumping into the seller. I did not want them to see me. I didn't want to have a conversation before our actual presentation. I wanted them to find the actual package in their mailbox or in their door slot. You prepare your comparative market analysis and my little new workbook. This is how I walk through my comparative analysis. I also have, I'll share this and we can pass it along. You've got this book too, right? That you
The big binder?
the big
Yeah,
binder.
yeah.
So this is actually, believe it or not, a real listing presentation. I've occasionally sold some stuff to family and like very, very close friends that we call family as a broker. This is one that I actually literally did for one of a relative of mine. And this is exactly how I did my presentations back in the day. This here comes from Royal LePage Signature. This is the signature home selling workbook, which is free. All you need to do is give them the name, right? So I use this and that in my presentation with the family member. Now, I knew I was getting a listing. I was walking up. There's no competition, but still, I didn't take that for granted. I did exactly what I would do for family that I would have done for a stranger. Okay, like you need to, as we talked about the system. Remember McDonaldizing your system. You need to McDonaldize your system. You do not want to deviate, even for your friends and family. You don't want to do any shortcuts or leave anything out. Same, right? Gives yourself credibility and integrity. And this is one of my absolute favorite quotes of all times. He who is prepared has his battle half fought. And that's the author, Miguel de Cervantes, from supposedly the second highest selling book of all time, Don Quixote. It's the second, yeah, that's what I was told. It was the second highest. Does anybody know what the #1 selling book of all time is?
Does this include religious texts?
Does anybody know what the #1 selling book is of all time?
I would say that, yes.
Yeah. Good thinking. So that is one of my favorite all-time sellings. If you ever read the book too, you know what, I'm gonna buy some. I gotta buy some more books for us for the big finale in a couple weeks. I'm gonna buy some of it's called The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
Ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting read. Very small book, so it's not like you've got to invest months on it, but it's a very tactical, strategic in the way that you interact and compete with other people. Now, in the book, he's talking about warfare, right? To killing people, but you can take that from a business standpoint and translate it into strategy and tactics, how to deal with other people. Yes.
What's the book name?
The Art of War by Sun Tzu. S-U-N and Zhu is T-Z-U. T-S-U, I've seen it. Mine says T-Z-U. The book I got. Yeah. Okay, next slide.
Wait, sorry, the one at the bottom, which?
He who is prepared has his battle half fought, which is a very similar to what you read in The Art of War, Sun Tzu.
So that's the one you're talking about.
This is from Don Quixote, but The Art of War, Sun Tzu has similar sayings like that. Okay. Yeah, I'll buy a bunch of them for you guys if you want to. So we give out books for the last day. Okay. Listing, presentation, appointment. Again, these are just highlight things you pick and choose. Just think of yourself at an a la carte buffet, and here's things you can start to choose that you want to use in your own business for questions. Make sense? I'm not telling you to have to do all of these things. You pick what's most comfortable for you. The objective is, though, for you to be as knowledgeable, professional, and prepared as you can be when you walk into that listing presentation. Okay? Next one, listing appointment. Are you ready? Okay, I said this already. Your Academy winning role, gold medal. You're at the Olympics. Game 7 of the World Series. Let's go there.
So I'm flopping as bad as the Blue Jays did.
They didn't flop. They went from last place to Game 7 extra innings World Series against the highest paid payroll in Major League Baseball. Like,
Those guys just didn't give up.
they didn't give up. Yeah.
Not until the 9th inning.
What's that?
That's where I
Oh, I know. Hey, listen, I coached high-level baseball, high-level hockey. I try not to put my coach hat on when I'm watching games like that, but there were some questionable coaching decisions. I'll just leave it at that. But listen, you can't you can't, fault our team. Yamamoto.
Yeah.
He won 3 games in 7. He came back after,
That's why they retired in the game before and game 6.
it was lights out, like, they're a superstar, right? Put on your concert at the Super Bowl. So basically you're on your absolute best. You're on stage, whatever that stage looks like for you. You really mentally have to take that position, have that mindset. Yes.
Did you have like a pre-listing appointment, like routine or like something you did to
Music.
set you up? Music?
Yeah.
Get a song in mind?
Yep. So my favorite song of all time is Tragically Hip, New Orleans and Sleeping, or AC/DC, Thunderstruck. So either of those two, I cranked it up and I was like, well, okay, let's go. I'm getting this thing. And I also liked, believe it or not, Tom Petty, Free Fall. My very first deal I ever did in 1993-ish. I got the deal done. I was 23 years old. The listing agents were the #1 Remax agents in Canada at the time, in Canada. And I was brand new, a little punk kid. And it was in competition and I hit this thing. And when I got in my car, that song came up. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I've always loved it since, right? It brings back me to that time in 1993. Like, it's amazing how you can,
The music is like that.
yeah, you can anchor something to an emotional time in your life, right? So, and New Orleans is sinking and Thunderstruck were university when I was at 12. So those had very sentimental reasons too. Okay, your time. Start building rapport immediately, right? So I highly recommend driving the neighborhood before your appointment if you're unfamiliar with the neighborhood. You may want to check comparable listings that are on the market right now and walk through them on what's called an inspection. So just for clarity, you don't have to have a buyer to go show a property. You as a realtor can go and inspect the property. It's called an inspection. So when you call Remax or Central 21 or whoever, hi, it's Mike Kennelly. I'd like to inspect the property today between 1 and 2. The brokerage knows it's not a showing, it's an inspection, and you go out and do your inspection. Did everybody know you could do that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So if I drive by beforehand, or you can do Google Earth stuff now too, right? I mean, you can check to see when the last time that little car drove around the neighborhood, so you can get an outside look of the property. I like to do the drive-by. I wanted to see, exactly how far it was from schools, from grocery stores, from parks, stuff like that. And I wanted to see it, that beautiful landscaping. The first thing that a buyer sees is that how that property presents itself. Call it curb appeal, right? Is this thing got good curb appeal? Am I put right now as a buyer in proper frame of mind? Yes or no? So I can then, pay a proper compliment when I walk into the house, right? Because you want to start the rapport building right away. You don't want to be adversarial. You want to be, relationship-wise. Rapport building critical. Some people, right? I mean, very simple and basic psychology that they teach in real estate is the DISC, DISC. Have you guys heard about that? Yeah. You know what? As I say, I kind of find it's very basic stuff. And those, they call it the 4 kind of personality types. I'm more, I've shared with you, I've really invested heavily in emotional intelligence and the big 5 factor personality and positive psychology. I kind of assemble all those things in my brain to figure stuff out. But a D would be somebody that's a high director type. That's like, this person doesn't want to chit chat. This person doesn't give a damn about anything. It's facts and numbers and that's it, right? And if you're dealing with somebody like that, it's going to be really hard to do, some rapport building with that kind of person. Okay, so the other 3 are a lot less in that direct approach. You can with those build the rapport. So I'm not going to go into detail with the other 3. You can look it up if you want. But if you run into this person or persons, it could be like a principal of a school like that they're like that, or an accountant person like that, or a computer programmer that just deals with the computer. That's usually what a D is, okay? And if that's what they are, be what I call a chameleon. We know what a chameleon, right? Yeah. Well, you just adapt. So you want to adapt. And so, you know, if the person talks slower like this, I will regulate the way I talk to that person so that the person's not offended by me or scared by me because I talk like this, right? So I actually adjust as a chameleon would be to my environment and adapt to it, okay? Let them take notes. Always had a binder with me like that, something like that. And I'd walk into the property and the initial instinct is to what? Let's go sit down and make a deal. Let's get it, right? Never do that. Please never do that. We walk in, start building the rapport. If it's a deed, okay, you're still not going to go run to the table and do the numbers and stuff. You're going to say, hey, listen, before we sit down, and you know, wherever you're most comfortable, whether it's a kitchen or it's a dining room, we'll do that. But hey, listen, I'd really like you to give me a tour of your house right now and pretend that I'm actually a cash buyer. So in my pocket right now, I'm the buyer that's going to buy your house. I've got my little notebook here. I'm going to take some notes as you give me the grand tour of your home. Again, pretend I'm the cash buyer that's ready to buy your house. Is that okay if that makes sense? Sure, no problem.
And buy the car.
Right, so I get them to give me a tour of the house. That's the first, I want to see the house. Because, you know, I may have gotten a good picture of what they said over the phone. Remember those questions, like, you done any renovations and things like that? But until I see it, I don't know what's there. So why would I go sit at the kitchen table without having seen the house? Okay, make sense? So I get them to give me the tour. Now, again, full disclosure, most of my business was referrals, right? We've talked about that. So there's already a built-in relationship. There's a built-in trust of me. But if you're dealing with complete strangers, right, it's going to be, you know, a little bit more difficult to get that rapport, get them to, you know, personality. The word personality means, did I tell you this is what that means? It's a root word of a Greek word called persona. It's a mask. You want them to pull the mask off so you can see who they truly are, right? And that's through relationship building. And so for me, coaching hockey, baseball, inline, oftentimes there was kids involved, so the kids would come around with me as well, right? It would be a nice, fun kind of thing. And at the end of it, I learned this my first or second week of real estate from a guy that's been in the business for 40 years. And back then I thought, well, that's a long time. Now I'm at 33, so now I know I'm an old guy. But he said, Mike, whenever you go into the house and you've done the tour and stuff, you know, wherever you're going, to the kitchen or to the dining room, you're walking with them, just stop like this, put your hand like this on your mouth and look up in the sky and go, you know what, Matt, I'm going to sell your house. I'm like, that's a corny thing that's never going to work. That's cheesy, but it works all the time. So of course Mike says, I'll try it. Why not? So the first time I went out there and I'm like walking around and okay, that's what it said. Stop and go, you know what, Matt, I'm not going to sell your house. I screwed it up. I said, I'm not going to sell your house. But it actually was like, they laughed and I made like, oh yeah, I'm just joking. Of course I'm going to sell it. But I did that every time I went to a listing presentation before we sat down. I wanted them to feel, and this was the point the other realtor made, was you want them to know that you are going to get the job done. Because when I start sharing you with the data, 22%, right? 22% of the homes sold. Before I've shared that with you, I've told you, I've planted a subconscious seed in your brain that I'm selling your house, right? Now it's acting, it's a performance. I didn't practice my performance. I said the wrong thing the first time, but you know what? I never made that mistake again. You know, if you make a mistake, not a problem. You'll learn from it, right? You'll get over it. You make fun of it. We used to talk about that all the time. It was one of the parents I coached in hockey, and that was the joke. Oh, there's Mike. He's not going to sell your house, right? It was a joke, but he did, right? So again, be prepared. You have your battle half. Exactly. All right, listing presentation scripts. Where are we at here? So this is on page 49, 50, 51. And not the 52 yet. Again, I'm not going to go into detail on these scripts with you. Next week, we're going to play around with scripts, okay? So
That's what I'm going to do.
all right, good.
I went for the presentation today and
Yeah.
then I just, I read it once, but then I think the practice is required, yeah. A lot of
Oh, you have to
is
practice,
required,
practice,
yeah.
practice. You know, when I coached athletes, of which one became a NHL superstar, for every hour they would play, they're practicing 3-4 hours for every game time played. Like, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
They make what they do look easy. The Jays, like honestly, let's look at it. Oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? They're performing at another level that we can't even imagine at. Their failures that we call it failures are just magnified because the stage that they're on, basically, right? But these people would make us look sick. Like we think, oh, why can't you run faster than that up the baseline? Well, he's probably 5 times faster than you could do it, or I could do it, right? In my life. But they make it look good, make it look easy because they're professionals and they practice, practice, and practice. So again, these scripts here, these are for you to kind of a la carte, go to the, the restaurant and pull whatever. Anybody like going to the Mandarin? Who doesn't like going to the Mandarin, right? Like you have like just almost infinity choices of what you can order, right? So you want to go to this buffet of whatnot. And these are questions that you can use in your personal buffet. You pick and choose the ones that for you make more sense and are more easy and comfortable, okay? So we're gonna go to page 52 in your workbook. This is just a sample again. Actually, we'll get people to move that around. Have you looked at it already? That's why I put it there for you to look. Okay, so this is just an example timeline for taking a listing, okay, of what I'm going to do. You can see it only goes to day 7. Yes.
So before that, like when we do this first listing presentation, is it important to come out of that with a signed sum
I already said yesterday.
on that day?
Yeah, you wanna be one in and out without listing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal. Now, as I said, this is the kind of market though that might require you to come back. And as I said, even myself, I might have to come back a second time because it's just, there's so much uncertainty in the marketplace. But because I did have such a high level of relationship referral business, like repeat and people that just knew me, trusted me and liked me, that I was able to do that. But that didn't happen just by accident. Like I built that type of business, right?
With complete strangers, they're reluctant to sign.
100%. That's why you don't want to deal with complete strangers. It's so exhausting as a realtor to do that. One of my best friends in real estate, he started about 1.5 years after I did. And he's still selling real estate, very high performer. He's a RE/MAX guy. And he does not have a big database of relationships for repeat and referral business. It's complete strangers that he deals with all. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like I would go crazy after 30 something years in the business. You shouldn't have to worry about anything. You should have it at 30 years in the business, a list of 30 A+ people, right? A's probably, 50 to 100, and just eat off of all of that business and referrals. Nope, this guy, he's one and done. He doesn't stay in touch with them. There's no follow-up. There's no staying in communication. Like buddy, you sold their house or you bought their house. They obviously liked you. Why did you abandon them? You made them, I call them orphan clients, okay? He's made all these people orphans for other realtors to pick up on. But he's a telephone caller. If you ever go to, I won't name names, I don't like to do that, but his office, it's not as big of a room, but it's the kind of size of my office, okay? You've seen that. And his wall is all scripts. Still 30 years in the business. He has scripts on the wall. And he practices every day his scripts. Yeah. He does 7 figures in commissions as a realtor, meeting over $1 million. And he still has stuff on the wall. All right.
I have a question.
Can we do that at the end?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to get through this. Okay, so this is only for 7 days. These are examples. This doesn't exist anymore, sadly, this Planet thing. This used to be an engineering company that would come in. I used them quite often when I was a realtor. I used it in my own house when I did my renovation. They used to come in and professionally measure the house using engineering stuff. Now they do not do residential, they strictly do commercial. So they still exist, but they don't help us. But these are just examples of what you can build as scheduled timelines. So, I'm not just coming to list your house. There's a whole bunch of things that I'm doing to get your house on the market and sold. Like, this is my strategy. So I stop at day 7, but it really goes to like day 60, day 90. You're building a whole laundry list of things you're going to do. Okay, so it makes sense that this is just because you see it like this doesn't mean that's all you're going to put in your unique strategy. Okay, any questions on that one? No. Matt, if you can pull up the critical roles of the realtor. If you're struggling right now to go, I don't know what to put in there, I got you covered. So one of the handouts that Matt gave you is called the critical role of the realtor. And if you go to the very bottom page, how many do we have that you can use and cherry pick from? 180. So there's 180 critical things that you could put in there for your 60, 90-day listing plan if you're struggling for things to put in. So I've made it really simple. I read on this?
Yes.
Yeah. So you pick and choose out of 180 things on top of the 7-day one that I gave you, and there's your marketing strategy. There's your all ready for you. You just got to go do it, okay? Back to the screen. Perfect. Okay, that's my next one. Yep. What are their goals? So we're on page 53. For instance, net dollars and time. Remember I asked, one of the questions was, when do you need to be moved by? 90 days. That clock starts ticking the moment I hear that. And if I'm there that first day, it's, well, tomorrow it's 89 days I gotta be out of there. If I'm there 5 days later, it's 85 days, right? That's great to know. Net dollars, if they're retiring, they probably need as much as they can. Everyone needs as much as they can. Let's put that out there, right? Like, nobody wants to leave money on the table. Okay, everybody wants to maximize their net dollars. Everybody understands what net dollars are, right? Net dollars is the amount that's left over after the expense of selling. So if I've sold a house for, let's say, $900,000, I have fees, realtor fees, legals, moving, mortgage balance, right? These are just some of the top level ones that we have, right? If we owe $200,000 still on the mortgage, well, it's, $700,000 just net. But hang on a second, I got some realtor fees, 5%. So that's 45,000, right? Legal fees, 3,000. I'm just making up my stuff here, right? Moving expenses. Well, I'm going to use, what's the guy that drops off the candy here all the time for us? His moving company.
Oh,
He showed up. We have this moving guy. I've known him for 20 years.
yeah, I know. It's
And they're perfect. They're bonded. They're amazing. They've moved my family so many times. Gary Kofed is the owner of the company. I know that, Gary. I just can't remember. AMG Campbell. So maybe if you're hiring AMG Campbell to do your move for it, they come in and pack up everything. They load it on the trucks. They move it to wherever you're going. So these are all your expenses. And so let's say we add up all of our expenses, and you're left with $690,000. That's your net. Net is after all your cost expenses to sell. It's very important to work out a net sheet for people that are selling, because you don't want them on the day of closing be surprised when their lawyer does that with them. You want to do it before they're at the lawyer's office to find out, if I sold it for 900,000, how come I only got 690? My realtor didn't tell me that. Sure you did. You did it right at the beginning, okay? This one here is important for us. What's your desire to work with these people? Do you really want to work with the garbage truck person who wants to dump their garbage on your front lawn? Remember I shared that analogy with you in class 1? You have a choice too. You've got 5 people you're working with, buyers and sellers. And 4 of the 5 of these people are amazing people. You're going to climb Mount Everest for those people and do whatever you can for those people. But the other one, that person has like storm clouds around them 24/7. They're the garbage truck full of garbage, dropping their garbage on your front lawn. Do you want to sacrifice your energy, your enthusiasm for the four that you would climb Mount Everest for the one that's going to dump their garbage on your front lawn? You should make that critical decision. Not every lead, not every opportunity is worth the sacrifice you're going to make to them, okay? You make that choice. Again, I think I've made this joke before, but I can't prescribe Prozac for you. I might be able to give you a glass of wine, a shot of whiskey or a beer, but I can't give you actual drugs, okay? So save yourself from that that trip to the psychologist, okay? What do we got here? So ask the seller to give your guide tour. We did that. You got your little workbook. Ask them to point out the features they love. Provide sincere compliments. All right, now my wife does a lot of marketing in real estate. So she was, when I got home last night, she was like, "Oh my God," she did some reels and all this other stuff for a realtor up in, I think it's south of Orangeville. Not hot now. Anyways, she showed me the property. The carpets look like they're from the 1967 shag carpets. I kid you not. And the seller thinks it's like the best thing since sliced bread, right? And okay, good for you. So, you know, it wouldn't be sincere of me to go in there and tell them how great that 1960s carpet looked. It was, by the way, it was like fluorescent orange carpet.
No.
Yeah, you know what shag carpet is too. Like it's not. It's like it's like a grass that hasn't been cut in like 2 months. That's what a shag carpet is, right? And so I would not be providing a sincere compliment about that, right? If I pulled up in the front and the driveway had potholes all over, I would be, "Oh, I love those potholes in there. You can make a pond out of that." Like, you know, don't be sincere, okay? And there's, you know what, I can sell this house. That's that thing I told you, right? Your fee or commission, this is where we're going to talk about that next week. We're going to do some role playing with that stuff. And I'm going to show you, though, a little bit of a head start on what my, oh no, that's maybe the next page. Yeah. On page 55. You need to first start agree upon the listing price. This is what we're going to do with my workbook that I created for you. You guys are getting this. I have not actually looked at this in over 20 years, and I found it in my material and had this created for you guys just yesterday. This actually was printed yesterday for you guys. So I literally did this at every listing presentation. I'm going to be really rough because I didn't get to really practice it because I only just found it. But we're going to run through the pricing part of my listing presentation with you. And it's interactive, by the way. Okay, so you're engaging and having the seller do some stuff with you. So yes, we got to agree upon the listing price, because when we started this, we said two things that are always going to happen, regardless of who you are. Even if it's your grandmother that you're going to list their house, or grandparents, they're going to want to know what the price is and what your fee is, right? Always. So we're going to do the pricing one today. Next week, we'll do the fee one. Be very, very careful. Never, ever, ever negotiate your fee before you negotiate the price of the property. Why would that be? Why would you never want to negotiate the fee that you're going to get before you negotiate the price that you're going to list the property at?
They're already calculating numbers in their mind.
Sure, of course, they're always doing that, but that's not what I'm
You have
getting
to
at.
provide them with value first before taking your cut.
That's very, very important. That's huge. That's like, there's two parts to that. That's part one. What's part two? What if the house is worth $1 million?
I was gonna say, like, that shows what your priority is. You're just talking about the commission that you're gonna get, or
No, because you're going to have people that are on the phone call before you book the appointment. They're going to want to know, hey, well, Mike, what do you charge? Well, that's a fantastic question, and I'm going to address that question. But that question would be best suited at the listing presentation. Why? I need to see your house before I actually can quote a price for you, right? And I always use analogies, right? just think about this. If you called up your doctor and said, what prescription should you give me without knowing what your symptoms are? The doctor needs to see you, diagnose you, and then he could prescribe for you. I'm the same way. So I need to see your house, I need to diagnose your house, I need to see it, and then I can prescribe a fee for you. So listen, I understand this is important for you. I will not forget to talk about this when we meet, and we'll talk about that at the very end of the presentation. Does that make sense? Yes. Never negotiate your fee over the phone without seeing the house first and without going through the pricing. So yes, you want to say that?
Oh my god, I'm blanking now. I was gonna say, it also gives them like a ref, because it'll give them a reference if they have other numbers for someone in mind. Like I've seen signs like 1% listing brokerage, right?
Yeah.
They'll have that number in mind and they're like, okay, you're charging 2.5, they're charging 1. I'm gonna go with this option, even though it might not be the better option.
Are we charging them if we're only getting 22% of sales occurring? What did they get charged? Zero, because they didn't sell it,
Until it sells, yeah.
right? Anybody can list a property.
Yeah.
How many people can sell it? That's a big difference, right? So the other part is,
Might also have a structure depending on what it is you're doing.
you can see that on page 55 of my
So
workbook.
I do go ahead.
Yes, you're thinking like me. And I'll share with you why my fee model was the way it was. This is 25 years old, what you're seeing here, okay? So I invented this a long time ago. Okay, so the other reason why we don't negotiate our fee first without doing the price is if they have the price, they want $1.5 million for a $1.2 million property. Again, do I want to take that listing? And this workbook is going to show them why they don't want to list at 1.5 when their house is worth 1.2. We use actual logic to kill their emotion, because it's an emotional thing for them, right? 99% of what we do in residential real estate is emotion driven. And so we have to counteract that emotion a lot of times with logic and facts and numbers. Facts and numbers don't lie, right? So we're going to talk a bit about appraisals and stuff, but let's just go to my next one. We'll go right there. The fee model. Here, you guys can fill in the blanks if you want here. Custom design, proactive strategy. This would be on bottom of page 54 there, right? Or on page 54. Good. So your proactive strategies, again, these are your choices. This is your business, right? Are you running McDonald's, or are you running the Keg, or are you running Ruth Chris, right? There's different levels. You're running an airline. Are you running standby service, or are you running first class service, or anything in the middle, business, economy, coach? Like there's different layers and levels based upon what you're getting. I mean, these people that paid first class on United Emirates, those airplanes, I've watched a couple of YouTube videos. They have their own like showers, and they're like, it's unbelievable. But they pay for that ticket. I think they said it was like $30,000 for a ticket or $40,000 for a flight. But there's people that pay for that experience, right? And there's people that pay for standby. They don't even know if they've got a seat on the airplane. You know, Mike Kennelly, calling Mike Kennelly. We got the seat for you right outside the toilet in the back of the plane, right? But there's people that pay for standby. Okay, next one here. Move on to signing. Have your pen ready. Ask the other company to take measurements. So the measurements part of getting, the data form complete, because you want to have as much of this. You want it all complete, quite frankly, at the listing. You don't want to be calling them back the next day looking for measurements, or was there hardwood floors in that room, or was it carpet? Was there a window in the room? How big was it? His and hers vanity in the water. Like, you want all that information that night, right? measurements, you can do it two ways. You can do the laser ones, or you can do it naturally with a tape measure. I did the tape measure, and I had the clients that I was working with actively involved with me in measuring every one of the rooms. So they would, hold one end of the tape measure, I'd have the other, we'd write down the actual room measurement. And, it's just part of engaging them more into the whole process of it, okay? But yeah, you can use lasers, like I can put it up against the wall, ding, there it is, right? Your choice, how do you want that relationship to look? I like to use it. Tape measure. All right, so fee for service, this is on page 55. And I created this out of an abundance of, for myself, protection. Again, I worked in the minor sport community, hockey, baseball, and inline, and Brampton, okay? And so a lot of people knew each other, right? It's its own ecosystem. So if I was working on a sale with Samuel, and I was working on a sale with Matt, high likelihood that you guys probably knew each other through me. And with listings and the fees, because fees are, well, they're not fixed, they're negotiable, right? I could be offering to Samuel first-class service. And so my model here, I call it the deluxe plan, right? Some people call it gold, silver, bronze. I came up with it in my mind when you're gassing your car up and you can get different kinds of gas, right? It dawned on me when I was doing that, I should do that for real estate. So Samuel wants the deluxe plan. That is the best gas you can put in your car. Versus Matt, he's okay with, the bronze, let's call it. So gold versus bronze. Now you can see there's a difference. Now, 6%, that's what we did 20 years ago. I know it's unlikely you're going to get it. This is just, I wanted you to see the example of what I used 20 years ago. Whatever your fee model plan is, this is your business. If you're running McDonald's, you're running Ruth Chris, or any point in between. You determine what your fee structure is going to look like. Because once you set one, you're going to be known for that by all your referrals. So if you set yourself up as a discount realtor, your fee is 3.5% to take a listing. Every one of your referrals is going to be people that are expecting you to charge them 3.5%. Or they're going to want you to go give them a deal that's free. Right? Would you agree with that? Okay. Now, in my environment, because it's relationships and people do know each other, can you envision a situation where Samuel, who's chosen deluxe at 6% and Matt's chosen the economy at 5%, that I'm not in the hockey arena, but Matt and Samuel are, and they're bragging about the great real estate agent Mike Kennelly got the deal done. And they were so excited. And Samuel and Matt are chatting, and Samuel says, oh yeah, it was great. And you know what? That 6% that Mike's fee charged got every penny of that out of it. And Matt's are like, 6%? What do you mean? He only charged me 5%. You think there's a problem there? Houston, we have a problem, right? And so I created this plan to never have that happen. Why? Because this is the choice between me as the realtor for the services. Again, these are very basics. Like, let's be honest, I probably had 200 things here, maybe 150 things here and 100 things here as services. Make sense? You're going to get the deluxe plan. You're flying first class on Emirates. You're getting caviar, lobster, your own shower, slippers, whatever. Watch the videos. It's actually disturbing what people will pay for 8 or 12 hours of flight. Like, it's crazy. But there's people that will pay for that. There's people that will pay for this, people that pay for that. Now, this is negotiable between the two of you. Okay, so Samuel wanted the full complement. He wanted everything possible that I could throw at it, including the kitchen sink to get your home sold. And that fee was 6%. Whereas Matt didn't think he needed all those things. So part of the deluxe plan difference between the economy scaled out a lot of things. So that could be staging didn't happen. That could be professional photographs were not taken. Whatever that looks like, I don't care. Again, this is your business. You figure that out. Now, this really happened to me in real life, where that conversation happened behind the scenes. I wasn't there. I got a phone call from Samuel who paid the deluxe price. He was agitated. He wasn't yelling and screaming. He was agitated because he discovered last night that Matt got 1% better fee than he did. And so, oh, Samuel, I fully appreciate it. Thanks for calling me and letting me know, because I really want to make sure that you're happy and understand what happened. But let's go back in time to when we sold your house, Samuel. Do you remember at the table we talked about the 3 different plans, the options, deluxe, premium, and economy? We chose the premium, deluxe. Matt, when we were at the table, determined to take the economy. And between you and I think you made the right decision. Your house was a bigger house, it was in a better neighborhood, and we needed to throw everything we could at it. And you remember we sold your house in 4 days with multiple offers, and we had 5% over market value. Now with Matt, we still had a very good success story, but it didn't sell in 4 days. It took 23 days, and we sold it for 1% below market or list value, right? Why? Because we scaled out some things. And if you remember when we were talking, I don't know exactly, I can't tell the future. I don't know exactly. Is it going to be the classified advertising ad that I put in that draws the buyer? I don't know, but I'm going to do it for you. Is it the professional feature sheets? I don't know, but we're going to do it for you. Is it the virtual tour? I don't know, but we're going to do it for you. Well, Matt chose to not have some of those things in. So we took that out. It took me 3-4 weeks longer to sell Matt's. We still were successful, but really we sold yours for 5% over list. You paid an extra 1%. Matt, we sold it for 1% below list price, right? We thought he saved 1%, but he actually didn't. He netted out the same, right? So just wanted to remind you of that. And then in that exact situation that occurred, the fellow that was Samuel in that story was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Problem solved. Now, can you imagine if I didn't have a system like that in the environment I was working in? That is going to be a confrontation. I don't want confrontations in what I do, because now I have to justify to Samuel why, in his mind, he thinks I ripped him off. Would you all agree with that? And when you get ripped off, like if you got ripped off for $10, $20, you're going to feel upset, right? 1% of $1 million is $10,000. Okay, he's really going to be ticked off. So I created that system so that regardless of whether I was around when those conversations were happening, and I know they were happening because I would get calls for referrals all the time. So they were talking to each other. I never wanted to, when the money was involved, ever have to deal with that conversation. Well, Matt's a real good grinder. He's a better negotiator than you were. He negotiated a better fee for himself, because that's what you're thinking, right? Or I took advantage of you, and I lost my trust with you. You don't like me anymore, right? And they probably don't want to know me. The top 3 things we want them to know: you, like you, and trust you. Okay. Any questions? What's that?
And interference in the future.
It's all gone. And Samuel will badmouth me to 10 people. 100 people.
If you're in a different community, selling homes in different communities,
What do you mean by that?
like you're selling one in Brampton, selling one in Burlington,
Okay.
and these are people not from your,
Yeah.
they don't know you.
Yep. Does the keg have different menu prices in Brampton versus Burlington?
No.
Why? They're different people, though. Different people.
Yeah.
Does McDonald's price list change? If I buy my ticket on Air Canada from my computer in Burlington or Brampton, does that change? Why should it change for us? McDonald's your business, like I told you in the first one. McDonald's your business. Any questions on that one? So now we're going to get into the little pricing guide thing that I started. I highly recommend that you think about doing something like this for your business. You guys are independent contractors, which means you make the choices on how you want to run your business. I'm only here to kind of shine a light onto some ideas for you and share with you how I ran mine. Pick and choose, a la carte, what you like, be saying, and what you don't like, discard it, but build the business. I'm telling you, on the price side, which we'll go through momentarily, and on the fee side, this here takes away a lot of that confrontation that you're going to have with people. You do not want to be in what's called an adversarial relationship. This creates adversarial relationships, okay? When we're like this. Okay? Think about when you've paid a premium for a service or a product that you felt good about paying that, right? And you recommend that. If you don't, if you do the discount, to me, it's like almost feels dirty. I need a shower after that, right? You're not excited about that. You're not enthusiastic about that. Go and telling everybody, go, Mike, you know, the discount realtor guy. Go. I don't want that experience with my people. All right, Matt, if we can pull up my new little book.
Yes.
Which you guys got a copy of. So remember, the fee is the last thing we do. The price is that we have to agree upon the price before we can agree upon the fee. Because I need to know, do I have a bona fide listing that I can take here? Or do I have something that is going to be a noose around my neck for the next 90 days? No, thank you. Okay. What's this thing here, Matt?
I'm just bringing up a better window for it.
Okay.
Give you more room to write. There you go.
All right. So can I click this thing or you have to scroll it up?
I've got a scroll.
Okay, so you can go past my beautiful face and name and all that stuff. This, by the way, as I said, Design has a copy of this. I noticed, and it's my mistake, not theirs. There's a couple spelling mistakes, which I'll cover off with you guys. I'm gonna let Design know that. So if you guys wanted to incorporate this in your business, that is available for people at home in all the offices, design centers, okay? But don't order it yet. I got to get them to change some of the spelling mistakes that I made. Okay, so select your realtor upon price. So you saw there's like a little graphic there, right? And so we want to have a discussion about this with our seller. Should you select a realtor based upon price is the big question. And the price we're talking about is the sale price, list price of your home. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you want to be taking the listing from a realtor that's just saying, yeah, 1.5. When we find out, as we go through this process, that your home's market value is 1.2. Should you go with that realtor that's going to promise you 1.5? I'm going to show you later in this presentation why you shouldn't. Under no circumstances, Mr. and Mr. Seller, should you do that. A realtor does not establish value, the market does. I'm sure you're aware of that. Every other industry and business works like that. Market establishes that. And competition helps that market figure that out even quicker, okay? So select a realtor based upon their services in the marketing plan, which we've gone over, how you trust them, what their competence level is, and what their track record is. So there's some big words in there, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I've shared with you what my track record is. I sell 95% of all my homes. My competence level. I have this qualification, I have that qualification, whatever that looks like for you individually, that is part of your developing your call like curriculum vitae, right? Like your resume. And you trust me. This is wrong here. That should not say price, okay? That was my mistake. That should say listed. So the role of the realtor, the role that I'm here to do is one thing, sell your home. Do you agree with me, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Or is my role something different? Are you hiring me today to sell your home? If they say no, oh, okay, well, what are you hiring me for then? They can't answer that. Like, unless they're just trying the market out. If that's what they're going to say, well, I just want to see what it's worth. Well, one, they could still have their mask on, so they're just kind of testing you. Or it could be really, they just want to see what the market's worth. Again, you make the choice. Do you want to take that listing if that's the case? So the role of the realtor is to sell your home, not to list your home. Mr. and Mr. Seller, anybody can list a home, but not everybody can sell a home. Write that down, people. Everybody can list a home, but not everybody can sell a home. Listen, I'm going to do all the exposure I can for your property. And I got all the enthusiasm you're ever going to want, Mr. and Mr. Seller. But that will not sell your home. You're going to get it from me 100%. But let me tell you who we should have enthusiasm for. Can you tell me, Mr. and Mr. Seller, who we should make enthusiastic about your house? Buyer? Sure. We want to make a buyer really enthusiastic about your house. What do you think is going to make a buyer really enthusiastic about your house when they see it on realtor.ca? What's the first thing that's going to jump out at them?
The price.
Wow. Have you ever gone on to realtor.ca, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Oh, you have. You see this beautiful property, maybe it's the location you're looking at first, then you look at the price. So you're doing it. The person that's going to buy your house is doing it as well. Who else do we want to make enthusiastic about your house? We've got the buyer, but there's a second person or persons you got to make happy and enthusiastic about your house. Yes. Nope. If you're going to say buyer and third parties with the buyer. So mom and dad, right? But really we're focusing on the buyer. But who's the other one that really want to make enthusiastic? Realtor. You want to make that other realtor just as enthusiastic as I am, or more so. He's going to see your listing come on the market tomorrow when I list it on the market. And he's going to go, holy cow, we've been waiting for a property just like this in this marketplace. There's 7 of them already out there, and they're all listed for $50,000 to $200,000 more than market value. Wow. What's this thing all about? I look at it as a realtor and go, holy cow, this guy, maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. He does, because he's listing it at market value. By the way, this presentation is a market value presentation. This is not a presentation for delayed offers. That's a different strategy. Everyone understand that? Delayed offers, if it's worth like $1 million, we're going to list it at $799, right? That's where you don't do any kind of math for listing price. We're doing a market value listing, okay? So we want to make the buyer and the other realtor enthusiastic about your home. You guys agree with me or disagree with me, Mr. and Mr. Seller? You want them to be agreeing, okay? So the next one. What's the next one? Should say, how do you set asking price? So we need to determine market value. You've heard that term before, right? We've all heard that term, market value. We use in our business what's called a CMA, and I've brought that along with me. And what am I looking here in my CMA for you? These are the 3 big things. Expired listings, okay? Currently for sale listings and sold listings. A lot of realtors don't even talk about the first category, expired listings. Most realtors don't bring that to their presentations and their meetings. I do. I do because 80% right now, or let's call for real, 78% of all the listings on the market right now expired, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Why did they expire? Well, let's go back to this thing again. Oh, it's price. It's not because the house was in the wrong location. It could be. It wasn't because the conditions sucked. It could be. It's because the price was wrong. The worst property in the worst location will sell for the right price. Do you all agree with me? Okay, perfect. Use objective criteria, not subjective. Again, in residential real estate, Most of the decisions are emotional ones, not logical ones. So we got to, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I got to get you thinking logical, not emotional. Does that make sense? Perfect. Okay. Again, I'm building up, right? Building up. Now, next one, Matt. Actually, no. I got a graph here. So in my next book, I'm going to have to get them to give me space on this one for that. So this is what's called the state of the market graph. State of the market. So by the way, if I'm meeting with two people tonight, I brought 3 workbooks, one for the husband, one for the wife who's using a traditional family, right? Husband, wife, and me. And they're going to have a pen. I got my pen, and we're actually interactively doing that. Everybody got that in their mind? All right, so we're going to give you the state of the market. This is a general market, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. This axis is called the value axis. This one here is called the time axis. Time is measured in days, weeks, months in our business. Value is represented in dollars. Okay, so this is the state of a market, the market cycle. And so here we go. This is like January, goes up like this, like this, like that, okay? So what we call this and this is what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? You know what we call that in a market? A peak. A peak. It's called a peak. A market peak. What do we call there? The middle part there. And call it here. In a market, we call that a decline. A market declines, okay? What do we call this part here? And let's say that's there and there. What would we call those two in a market? A bottom. Bottom. So just so we're, and this one here, this section here is called an ascent. It's called an ascent. So peak, decline, bottom, and an ascent. That's economics, right? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, just so we're all on the same page, what part of the market do you think we are in right now in November 2025? How do you know that? Do you know? Have we reached bottom? Or could we still actually have a little bit more? I would say we're in decline. I just don't know when that decline is going to reach the bottom. Okay? We are in a decline. Why am I doing that with them? Why are you going to do that with the sellers? I got to take emotion out and put logic in. Can they argue with you that you say it's in decline? Or if you said bottom, you could say either one. I say it's decline in this current environment. Would they go around and tell you, oh, you're wrong, Mike, we're in an ascending market? Could they say that to you? No. If they were drinking heavily, maybe, but they're not. So they can't argue with that logic. All right, I'm setting in their mind logic, getting emotion. Okay, next one, Matt. So use objective criteria, not subjective, right? Next screen. These are principles of valuation. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I studied the economy when I did my real estate license. I did it really in university as well. And so there's 4 real big things that we look at when we decide what principles of evaluation are. So it should say principles of evaluation up there, right? It does. Okay, you see that in the room, right? Okay, so let's get some basic definitions that we all understand. So the first one is cost. This is your cost, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. What does it say? It says acquisition cost plus any capital improvements made to your home. So I noticed you just did a massive renovation compared to what the pictures looked like when you bought it 15 years ago. So this is your cost and this is your improvement. So you bought it for $1 million and you put in 300. So you're in $1.3 million. That's your cost. We all agree. Now, there's 3 other variables, the that factor into how market value is established. One is the value that one person would determine your house's worth. That's the buyer. And I say here, it's in the eye of the beholder. And there might be one person out there that is like, this is exactly what I dreamed and envisioned, everything, right down to the faucets you put in, those gold faucets. I want those. That's 1 in 30,000 potential buyers that's there. I'm hoping we can find that buyer for you. I'm not going to leave any rock uncovered. I'm going to try and find that buyer. But the likelihood in this market, in the declining market, the buyer that has the eye of the beholder doesn't exist. Would you agree with me? Yeah. Price. Back to that famous word. It's my price book. Is the price that we would list it for sale at. This is the price that we're putting on, and you get flyers in your house all the time, I'm sure, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, right? Great. Well, my favorite flyer is the Canadian Tire flyer. And when I get the Canadian Tire flyer, that front page, they have the best deals on that front page. It's about price, right? And so I'm going to possibly get in my car and drive over to Canadian Tire because of that flyer that says price to go look at that snowblower or that gazebo or whatever that is. Do you do the same thing? Sure you do. All big businesses spend massive amounts of money in marketing and advertising to draw your attention, products that are on sale to get you to go to their website or their store. Make sense? Guess what? Real estate's like that too. Probably never thought of it this way, but let me share with you how I look at it. When a new listing comes on the market, every realtor, remember I talked about making people enthusiastic, buyers and sellers, or sorry, buyers and the realtors? Well, their realtors that are working for their buyers are scanning every day for the new flyers that come out in real estate. And every day, those new flyers for real estate are the new listings. So the price that we put your property on the market for is so important. It's that front page of the Canadian Tire flyer or Home Depot or Michael's or M&M's or whatever your favorite flyer is. You're on the front page that first couple of days. And we want to catch the attention of every buyer and make their realtor so enthusiastic about your property that they're going to drive with their buyer to look at your house. Does that make sense to you? And then the ultimate thing is the market value. What is that? That's the amount that would appeal to the most amount of buyers. By the way, this is the value that in an appraisal, which you'll see in a moment, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that the lender looks at. The lender doesn't look at the cost that you've invested in your property. It doesn't look at the value that the one person's going to actually pay. It's going to look at the market value. And the banks today are very strict on how and who they lend money to. And so finding a buyer that's going to pay a premium for the property may be difficult, because it's not going to be me that's going to stop them from doing that. It's going to be the lender that's going to stop them from doing that. And in those cases, the lender's going to say to the buyer, okay, because you're the eye of the beholder, you really want that property, we'll lend to you, $900,000, because we think it's worth 900, but you paid $1 million for it. You got to come up with an extra $100,000 before any of the other calculations occur. Does that make sense? That's truly what happens. Again, Mr. Seller, that's why we're at 22% of properties you're selling, because realtors that are coming in and all they want to do is list your property, they're not thinking about selling it like I am. They're not being upfront with you. Or maybe they don't even know what the reality of the situation is. I'd rather tell you today than have to tell you in 30 days that we need to reduce your price. I want to be honest and upfront with you and educate you. Does that make sense? Great. Okay, next slide there, Matt. We should be on our home is better than it. So listen, I agree 1,000% with you. Your home is better than others. I think the same way about my house. I have so much pride in my home, and you have so much pride in your home. And this is not to try to diminish that pride that you have in your home. First off, okay? Well, let's look at the subjective again versus the objective. There's 5 things that trigger a sale in real estate. Price happens to be number 1, not a coincidence. Location, condition, size, and amenities. It's 5. Do you disagree with any of those 5, Mr. Seller? You don't? Good. Okay, great. In these 5, which ones can we influence? What do I mean by that? What could I change?
Price and conditions.
I can only do that and condition. Those 2. The other 3 are fixed. Unless you want to do, a renovation, an extension of your house. I'm sure you're not prepared to do that, nor do you want to do that, to make your house bigger by doing an extension. So we only have 3 things that are fixed, and we only have 2 things that we could influence. And which one do you think is the most important one for us to influence today to list your property? The price or the condition, the 2 that we can influence?
Right.
Price. So I keep on coming back to get them in the mindset that you got to think it's price, 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 okay? So we get this thing called the principle of regression in real estate as well. Has everybody taken the principles of appraisal through real estate at all? No, maybe? It's one of the electives. Well, it used to be one 30-something years ago. So in appraisal, you can become a licensed appraiser. You go through university to do that. And so there's all kinds of metrics that they do for them, right? Because there's cost analysis, there's income analysis approach, there's a CMA approach, there's the 3, right? But there's this one aspect, Mr. Seller, it's called the principle of regression and progression. In the principle of regression, cost of higher homes versus surrounding homes. What do you think that means, Mr. Seller? The cost of higher homes versus smaller homes. Okay, let me draw that for you. All right. So your home is the big home, and the homes in the area in your neighborhood are the small homes. In the principle of regression, your home is regressed, unfortunately, because of the smaller homes. Okay, now you're probably going to want to do the reverse of how I just did that. I'm just doing that dramatically for you to think about, because the way I just did it for you insults them, right? But I want you to remember by saying the bigger house that they have, in actuality, because they're in a neighborhood where, say their home's a 3,000 square foot home, but all the other comparables in the neighborhood are 2,000 or 2,400, 2,500. The principal regression draws that house down. Okay, that's what it's doing. Okay, the reverse of that is the principle of progression, which means that the small home surrounded by the big homes, this actually has a price appreciation in the principle of progression. Yeah.
But when we do the CMAs, generally the square feet and all the things we are doing the calculation, and we can add some prices if the square feet is less and then our property is bigger, then we add some of the amount for that actually. So
yeah, with the principle, this is how appraisers, like licensed appraisers, do a physical appraisal in a residential neighborhood. They will look to see whether or not the subject property, that's what they call it, the subject property, is a smaller home surrounded by bigger homes, or a bigger home surrounded by smaller homes, or a home that's been super over improved in the area versus other comparable properties. That's what that principle is. And so you're trying to just get them to think, again, logically, not emotionally. So home improvements at the bottom are for you and your particular benefit more than it is for the end user, right? That's what we're actually doing our renovations for ourselves, because we don't get a dollar for dollar return typically when we sell our home, right? For those upgrades. Okay, next one, Matt. Should say we need the money, right?
Okay, so you're not
Hang on a sec, hang on. Principal substitution, yes. This is an interesting one. This takes a while to wrap your head around it. So I use a well analogy when I was doing my listing presentation. So principal substitution. So somebody can substitute your house for another house. And right now I showed you there's 7 other listings in the marketplace. So there is this ability for a potential buyer to go and choose somewhere else, right? So what we talk about with principal substitution is, let's use a rural property that has a well. And so here's the property. This is the ground. Here's property number 2, and they got to dig for a well. And so this guy digs for his well here, and that's 50 feet. This guy here had to dig 200 feet for his well. And what the cost is double or triple to dig 200 feet versus the 50.
So you get the water.
But the problem is, right, that what you're getting is water. You're getting H2O. So a buyer doesn't care that you have to pay $20,000 to dig versus neighbor built 5. Why? Because the substitution is the same thing. You're getting the same thing, right? You both have hardwood. You chose to get Brazilian herringbone versus his regular hardwood. It's still hardwood. We can't get the dollar for dollar out of that. We'll get a bit of a premium, but the principal substitution that they're going to, in their mind, use, what appraisers use, says they're not going to give you the dollar for dollar. Does that make sense?
Can we build another washroom, extra washroom?
Right. Well, there's no principal substitution there. If there's an extra washroom, that's a benefit, right? If we have 3 washrooms here, 3 washrooms here, and one is bare bones basic, but you've upgraded yours to, spa-like conditions. Again, we're not getting a dollar for dollar return on your spa-like versus the regular. We're going to get a bit of a premium, but not a dollar for dollar return.
Because in the 4th one.
Because the functionality is the same. Right. If you had 4 versus 3, that's different. Yeah, it's not substitution. Okay, then we have appraisals. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there will be an appraisal done. If somebody comes in with an offer, conditional on financing, which 99% of offers will have financing, the lender will most likely send an appraisal. And today they're doing on-site appraisals. A couple years ago, they were doing computer appraisals, but because money is so tight right now, and the underwriters are under strict orders to make sure the value is there, they'll send somebody over. And so when they're going to send somebody over, it's going to look at time it was done, right? So in today's date, they want to know what the purpose of it was. Is this a divorce situation? Was it for insurance, refinancing, a HELOC loan, or a CMA, comparative market analysis? What are the market conditions? They're looking at what's happening in the market. We've got interest rates, number of homes for sale, recent sales, seasonal shifts, supply of buyers. So these are all things that an appraiser that's gone to university to figure out prices are going to do. And that's what they're going to send to do an appraisal on your property from the bank. Okay, so we can't sneak one by them, right? It's not like I'm a pitcher at the Blue Jays and they thought I was going to throw a fastball and I threw them a slider. We can't throw sliders to buyers because buyers have the lenders that are going to make sure that everything lines up. Again, why it's critical and so important for us to get the price right. Okay. Most important appraisal is the lender appraisal for financing. Okay, like end of story. If we don't get it through there in the conditional financing period, it's been a failure. Okay. Scroll up, Matt. Should be we need the money. Think of like Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. Okay, listen, Mr. Scott, I know you told me that times are tough. Boy, I wish I could get you a lottery ticket, pick the right lottery numbers for you and you win, okay? So unfortunately though, in a marketplace, in the free market, the market doesn't really have any influence on how we feel and what we need. So the market doesn't look at what your mortgage balance is. It doesn't look at what repairs you've done or need to do on your property. It doesn't look at what selling expenses you have, and it doesn't look at what you need your money for. Are you buying again or are you renting? The market is logical. It's not emotional, right? You understand that? The market's all about, again, all about price, Mr. Seller. Again, okay? Next slide, please. We have a market that's in decline. You might think it's in a bottom, but we're in decline. So what we have right now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is bargain hunters out there. You know what a bargain hunter is?
I'm kind of one of those.
You're a bargain hunter. And you know what? You will find something. It is a numbers game. There will be a property that you will bargain hunt and benefit from. I guarantee you, right? Because there'll be somebody you meet that is in such desperate straits that they're gonna sell your house for the bargain hunting prices you want. I'll pass that around as well. You guys want to see that, right? Oh, you- okay. All right, so bargain hunting. What does this look like? A bargain hunter doesn't care about this thing right here. So we got two accesses. We got higher sales price, sale, lower sale. And this is market value, okay? MV, market value. Now, we have traditional markets, traditional buyers that are out there, and for them, they're like a bullseye. They're aiming for a target. You ever shot darts? Well, they're looking for that bullseye. And for them, that's the market value. It could be a little bit up, could be a little bit down. Could be 1 to 2% up, 1 to 2% down. That's where the vast majority of your buyers today are. The 22% that are buying, 20% of them are those types of buyers. Okay. Now, depending upon, this is our list price as well, lower list price. Depending upon how we price it, how we strategize our listing, how we market our listing, it's going to take time. The longer time that it takes, the more likely we're going to attract bargain hunters. So if we list high versus list low, time is going to be of the essence, right? So we could be benefiting with a higher sale price if we list lower. Okay? Or we could lose money if we list higher. Very simple math. We want to zero in on the target market value to appeal to the vast majority of buyers. There was just over 5,000 people that bought homes in Trev in the month of October. We're probably going to see another 5,000 homes sold this month in November. I want you to be able to tap into those 5,000 buyers that we have out there in the marketplace right now. That's why the most important thing for us to do right now is to price your home at market value, because that's the target we're looking for. Otherwise, we're going to get the bargain hunters that are going to come in. If we list high, the bargain hunter person knows that you're here. The bargain hunter is going to go here after you've been on the market for 30, 60, 90 days. I don't want you to be on the market for 30, 60, 90 days, because you're going to see why I don't want you at the market for 30, 60 days. Does that all make sense? Okay. Next slide, Matt. We can always come down in price. These are objections you're going to get, right? That's why I built it this way. We can always come down in price. Here's another chart. Now you're drawing this with him in your workbook, by the way. Remember I told you you're bringing, right? So you got to, I haven't done this in 20 years, actually, this presentation, because I just found my thing, which I'm a little rusty on, but whatever. So
We got a special summit.
you got a special summit. So list price is on this axis. And this is going to be days, weeks, months. So this is a time axis, okay? Again, very simple stuff. Time, price. They're quarterly, okay? So we can always come down in price. So you want me today to list up here. Let me go here and say this is market value, okay? This is market value. But you want me to list up here. And then we're going to, let's get that out of the way. So we're talking days, weeks. So you want me to try it for 30 days. Have you ever heard that? They said, let's just try it for 30 days. All right, so we're going to try it for 30. Actually, we're going to try it for 3 weeks. We're going to bring you down here for what's called a price. What do we do here when we do this?
Adjustment.
Adjustment or reduction. So we've done that at this part here, 3 weeks basically, okay? So then we keep that price for how much? We're going to go for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, another month. We're going to keep going. Then we're going to do what? Price reduction. Is it going to sell? We're now into the months. We're at 3 months now. It's been on for 90 days. What are buyers asking at that time?
Why it's not selling.
What's wrong with the property?
What's wrong with the property? What's wrong? If I took you out right now, Mr. Seller, and we were looking at a property that's been 93 days in the market, would you agree your first question to me is going to be what's wrong with the property? Do you know what's wrong with the property, Mr. Seller? What's wrong with it? Well, the price, that thing comes back. What's wrong? Is it going to sell here though? Now that we're at market value 93 days into the property being on the market, why is it not going to sell there?
People are gonna hope that it will come down more.
Because the slide we just did had a bunch of people out there called what? Bargain. That's all that's left is the bargain hunters. The serious buyers are gone. Serious buyers that are new to the market sees 93 days. They're like, something's wrong with it. I'm not there. So now we've attracted the bargain hunter that's going to ask you to sell here. Sell. I can't spell. That says sell. Which means that they're going to try to pressure you to do what's called capitulate. Capitulate. You know what that means? It's a fancy word saying, I give up. It's been 93 days, 97 days, 110 days. I hate having to clean the dishes in the sink and vacuum and take my dogs. You know what? Bargain hunter takes it.
It's a below market.
And that's what's going to happen if we don't
Price it.
Price.
properly communicate. I'm using logic with you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, not emotion. Does it make logical sense what I'm telling you? Do you disagree with anything I'm sharing with you today? It can't. It's pure sense, right? These price reductions, you'll probably have to, as a seller, do another price reduction. And then you're going to capitulate and sell it for below market value 120 days after you listed it. Do you want to be the realtor that manages that 120-day listing? What kind of stress are you going to be put under? Like you're in the business of selling properties, not listing. Remember I shared that in the beginning, Mr. Seller? I'm here to sell it, not list it. If you hire me and we do this, I'm just listing the property, and I can tell you right now, I'm not the best fit for you. I'm just being honest with you. I don't want to be in a situation where I list here and I end up having to sell you here. That's not going to be my first class service for you. Yeah.
There's a guy who lives on my street who hired a realtor just to test the market, have the property on the, they put like a ridiculously high price. They attempts to like boost up the neighborhood or whatever, right? Let's say they are one of those people.
The
from
seller, is
years-
that the seller wants you to do?
The seller, like, oh, we just want to test the market, see what the waters are like.
Well, what did I say before? You have a bona fide listing or you don't. Is that a bona fide listing for somebody that's going to want you to list it for 20 or 30% above market value, particularly in this kind of market? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's cruel and unusual punishment that you're exerting on yourself.
So I was gonna ask from your personal experience, you would say, I'm
That
not,
chart I
I don't
drew
think
for
I'm
you.
the right
The
person.
chart I just drew for you, and the language I just gave you,
Yeah.
says, I'm not the realtor for you in this scenario. I don't want to be in a situation with you because I sell properties, I don't just list them. I don't want to list it here and ultimately sell it down here. That's not the kind of service I deliver. I deliver service where I'm going to get you market value or slightly better. And in this market, you're not getting a lot better than market value, if at all. When only 22% of homes are selling, Mr. Seller, the math is very clear. The lenders are very strict. Like, if you want me to sit here and tell you and lie to you, Mr. Seller, I'm not the realtor for you to do that either. If you have realtors that are doing that, they probably don't know the market, or they are being dishonest with you. I'm not making that decision. I'm being honest with you. You can work with me or not, and either way is fine. I'm just giving you the facts. The facts, that's it. That makes sense? Good, okay. That's the language, I'm not like that, these are dialogues for you to talk, right? Go back and watch what I'm saying, right? This is years of practice of me, just knowing what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. Know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it, okay?
Having the recordings is a blessing.
All right, so next one should be a try the higher price. Okay, so let's try it. Again, we're talking about this, I understand. You want to maximize and net out your dollars. Let's do another chart, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Here we go. We got the activity chart now on this axis. What does that mean? That means the amount of people that are going to come in and out of your property, the activity. And the bottom is going to be time. And what we got here is we're going to do by weeks. Week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 weeks. That's 2.5 months. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. We come to the market. I shared with you how flyers work, right? The Canadian Tire, the M&M Eats, that flyer comes out. That flyer that comes out is your listing. Your listing's coming out tomorrow to the marketplace. All the realtors that have buyers ready to go. And to buyers that are watching realtor.ca, yours is a front page ad coming out this week, starting tomorrow. So when do you think the most activity is going to be for your listing? The most amount of people that are going to be as buyers, we said enthusiastic, and realtors that are going to be enthusiastic. When are they going to be the most enthusiastic, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? First week or two. Okay. So this is how you draw this graph. Start it up here. It's like way up here. And then it comes down like this. That's your enthusiasm chart, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, for buyers and their realtors. You agree with me, right? So this is the most amount of interest in your property. The most amount of enthusiasm. How do you spell enthusiasm? Yeah. Right there. Most amount of enthusiasm is right there. So you want to try it at a higher price. And remember, we're talking market value. We've already established that the lenders are going to be looking at your house and comparing it to other valued properties that have sold, right? They're not going to compare it to the current active listings that haven't sold, that have been in the market for 90 days. The lender looks at that and goes, no, that's overpriced. The expired listings, they were overpriced. They're looking at sold properties that were properly priced. So you want them to look in this, to engage with a value, with an offer with you. Because the reality, and I shared with you the numbers already, it took how many days to sell? 50 days. Where does that put us in the weeks, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Have you missed out on your opportunity where the buyers and their realtors are the most enthusiastic about your property? we've missed it by a whole month. So the average realtor, the realtor that doesn't know the business or is being dishonest with you by listing it higher, the ones that are dishonest know it takes 50 days and this is where you're going to sell. Are you going to sell at market value after being on the market for 50 days? Or is the bargain hunter coming along and getting you? Again, Mr. Seller, it's logic and facts. I got to take the emotion out of it for you. The other one is called the triangle of success for trying at a higher price. Triangle of success. What do you think is the number one? Starts with the P, right?
Price.
Price. What do you think's down here?
Week.
Starts with a T.
Time.
What do you think's the last one? There's an F or an M. Financing. If you don't have these things in alignment, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you can't sell your house. You gotta have the right price, the right time, and the right type of financing, meaning we gotta appeal to the appraiser that's coming over to look at the house. They gotta put a stamp on it so they can fulfill that condition on financing. That makes sense? Perfect. Okay. Next one. This one's a little bit more complicated. But it actually works right now in this kind of marketplace. Buying up in a down market, okay? We are in a down or declining, or some of you think bottom market. So this kind of strategy does kind of work in this marketplace. So this is a homeowner that has their house and they want to buy up, which we're actually experiencing this quite often with our clientele, right? This is a chart that you can actually sit down and explain to them how it works. So they've bought their house, let's see, we're gonna say 800,000. So the house they live in right now, they bought it for $800,000. Give me a time, 10 years ago? 10 years ago? Okay. And this is your client here. The house they're looking at was bought at about the same time by another homeowner. And they purchased theirs, I took random numbers here, 1,040,000, right? It's roughly a 20% higher. So when people move up, they roughly move up, by the way, between 20 and 50% from where they're at. So I've taken the lower number here in this situation. So you bought at $800,000. So we're gonna look at what happened when you bought at that 80,000, because the market went up like this. Then it came down like that, okay? This guy here, he bought and his went up, and the higher prices go up, not in the same proportional percentage, right? They can, but usually they go up an extra 5 or 10%, the higher, right? They also come down at a higher ratio too. So what I'm gonna do here, so I'm gonna do two kind of charts. I'm gonna do another breakaway chart, if in case that property went up a little bit more in percentage. So what we're gonna say is your property doubled in value. So this is called the peak, right? This guy here was the peak. So if we doubled in value at the peak, and now we're not at the peak, right? I know you want to look back to 2021 and your house was selling for at the peak, if it doubled. How much was it selling for? 1.6. Do you have sellers that want to get the peak number from 3 years ago, right? Okay. What's the peak for this guy here?
280,000.
That's 100%. And I'm going to use I used like a 135% increase as well. So that number here would be 2.4 million roughly. It's like 2.45 thousand or something, but we'll just go with that. So that's the peak. What do we call this part of the market as well? It's called the ascending market. What are we calling this part of the market? Decline, right? Let's go here. We'll say that's the what? Bottom, right? Okay, so buying up in a market, we got to look at now where these properties go in a decline of, and I'm using 20%. That's kind of a fair number. We've seen probably about a 20% on average decline since 2022-ish, right? Some markets are higher, some are lower. So if we do a decline from your peak, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we'll put that right here, 20% decline. Your house now is worth $1.2 million. So it is a net drop of 320,000 from the peak. I know that's ouch, right? But here's the magic. We're buying up. We're buying a bigger property to, be the dream home for the family, the expanding family you have. So the house that you could have bought that day that went up to 2.8 million or 2.4, it's declined 20% as well. And in this case, this one here is now worth 1.64 million, and his decline was $416,000. So you're actually netting some difference in money there. Do you understand that? How that works? Well, let's say the house went up 135%, not 100%. This number here is 1.92, and he had a net loss of 480,000 compared to the 320. So you're buying up with much more magnitude of buying power. Does that make sense? So I know the story sounds a little bit bitter right now, that your net loss or drop of 320,000, but we're buying up, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. And where we're buying, that net loss and drop significantly more dollars. So you're actually realizing real money right off, real equity in that move up home. So let's not focus on where we're at right now in the price from the peak of the market to where we're on decline. Let's focus on where the peak was and what we're buying and where it is right now. Okay. So it's a complicated strategy. If you don't feel comfortable doing one like that, if you want to print the book and do one, ask me to take that chart out. Okay. So if you're not comfortable doing what I just did, just take that off the table. Okay. Next slide, Matt. Very simple. Just to summarize about the price, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. What are the benefits to you in properly pricing your house? Well, faster sale. It's going to be less inconvenience. Listen, I don't want you having to clean your home, walking your dogs, having to leave at dinner time after a stressful day at work for the family coming in for more than I have to. I'm hoping that this is over with in a week or two. 3 tops. I don't want to be the realtor that has you listed for 90 days, 120 days. This is not the amount of stress, anxiety you're going to face because of that. I want to eliminate that from you right from now. I'm being honest with you. I'm not here to take your listing. I'm here to sell it. And if you listen to the honesty part, what I'm saying, we'll be on the right track. We'll get you sold. You'll be in that new home. You told me you need to be out of here in 90 days. We'll make that happen. If we take a higher listing strategy, I think I'm in jeopardy of doing that. And I don't want to be the realtor that does that to you. Okay. More prospects are going to be around. There's going to be agent enthusiasm, sign ad calls that we're going to generate when it goes on to realtor.ca. My first sales signs, I'm going to do open houses for you. I'm going to generate all this enthusiasm in the first week to 3 weeks. Just makes sense. And we're going to net you at the end of the day a higher equity. Okay. Next slide for you, Matt. Now let's just finish with a couple more things here. Why do expired listings happen, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? 78% of all the listings on Trev expired. Only 22% sold. This is why. Price. I keep on going back to it, Mr. Seller, but I have to be honest with you. Price is the single largest reason. Location is number 2. You've probably, like me, grown up with the words location, location, location. Is that true? I'm here to tell you it's price, price, price. Okay? But we do have sometimes location does prevent
Can anyone of you hear? I can't see Kennelly anywhere. Mike.